And good evening, everybody. Welcome to this edition here of the Mass Steel Podcast. Me, Charles Bradley Ritchie. As you can usually catch me every Mondays and Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And definitely had a pretty darn good one a few days ago. Just thanks again for Brian Diarlo calling in this past Monday. I had a fun conversation about the Hall of Fame and some of the Steelers' offseason needs that they need to start focusing on. And we're going to be again here in just momentarily a little bit as the Steelers have made a few signings right now, future reserve contracts for the time being, as usually expected the Steelers would do around this time. As you could always definitely say under Kevin Colbert and Omar Khan, that they're definitely cap masters when it comes to figure out creative ways to free up cap space and get money in for players they could sign real quick for patches or whatever it may be. Again, as always, the number to hit up it is 312-209-2232. Again, that number to be reached is 312-209-2232. Again, I can always be followed on social media, on Twitter, at Bradley Ritchie, Metasteel, CJR. Of course, my Instagram live stream, Metasteel Nation. And of course, my YouTube channel, Men of Steel Podcast. And hope everyone's staying warm in this wintry weather, which has been somewhat decent over here in Chicago, is where I usually stay at. I'm not too sure about everyone else, but definitely some chilling factors, if you will, so to speak, to find out as we move a little bit more closer throughout. Start off this new year. Hopes everyone's been having a good New Year's resolution so far to start the first week of the new year. But let's get ready to get into it right now as Teresa Varley of Steelers.com. We got a couple of signings to report. You could say like in the last few days, which includes today. And the very first one right now that was signed, it was Darren Hall. He was signed to a future reserve contract on Tuesday. This is another fellow athlete they usually like to target from the University of Pitt Panthers football. And this is a guy right here who initially signed as an undrafted free agent with the Cleveland Browns. And after getting released by the Browns, he went on to hang around with the Bengals and Packers, but was released by the Packers prior to the start of the regular season. So what ended up happening was that after that, he did spend some time with the Steelers during the season. And right now, this is a guy right here. One of his feature highlights was that he was an all-ACC selection in 2018. He had 1,144 yards on the ground off 153 carries, 10 touchdowns, which ranked second in the ACC, and was seventh nationally was 7.48 yard per carry average. And this guy right here, he broke up University of Pitt Panthers legend who wanted to play for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm sure you can guess who I'm talking about. No other than Tony Dorsett. Which is pretty darn special right there. And that's the guy right there. Whereas we all know had like a very legendary Hall of Fame career in here and had some classic Super Bowl showdowns later on in the show for it. But like I said, you look at this guy, Darren Hall, right now, and you got to definitely be thinking right now it's fresh on their mind when you look at it. And as we take a look at things here. But, this is a guy right here. Let's see how he'll be able to fill in. Because we got a lot of questions about guys like James Conner. And by no means are we questioning James Conner's toughness in any way. Although I want to think that. But let's not also forget, too, a guy like James Conner right now, too, who overcame a lot in his career. I mean, with the sickness, with his cancer and everything, and battling that out. But I think for the Steelers right now, and like I said, no one could ever question his toughness. That'll never be in question. But the thing is, that seems to be consistent with James Conner ever since having that concussion in the 2018 season about a year ago against the Carolina Panthers. This guy has been hardly somewhat of a no-show, to be honest with you, as far as performing on the field. Listen, I like James Conner. I like the character, the attitude that he brings. But again, we're definitely finding out how life beyond Le'Veon Bell is. I know that's not like a name. I'm not trying to create any negative energy, but you gotta face the facts here. I mean, James Conner, who, I mean, when healthy, he performs pretty good. It's not the question of when he can perform on the field. It's just being off the field. I mean, he was only able to start in 10 games, which had a significant decline last year. Basically, he had like about 13. So he missed like basically about like 3 games. And when you try and put that as far as like interest perspective, that's a pretty decent amount for there. And I gotta believe, like I said, like James Conner, it definitely wasn't all his fault. I'm not gonna deny that. But when you also take into consideration how they were trying to split these carries and get the production in yardage, I mean, by the Steelers, I mean, it's definitely been very interesting. You just never really had a real good, consistent running back unit. I mean, this year. I mean, it was ranked towards the bottom, and you got to face facts too. I mean, it was just one of the things that was a detriment of this year, aside from the quarterback passing and the receiving. So basically, we could definitely all agree it was the offense as a whole, totally. But as far as like what areas and where we need to start looking at, I mean, for a unit for the Pittsburgh Steelers, we actually combined to rush this season for 1,447 yards, basically, which is a real low, and which only had barely 4 yards an attempt. And that's where we need to start keying in on. I got Mark Hockey on here right now. Steelers need a Jerome Bettis type of running back with someone like James Conner as a chance of pace back. I will agree with you there, but at the same time, too, I think that's kind of like what you got Benny Snell. I mean, Benny Snell is obviously not going to be that size, but Benny Snell is supposed to be one of your guys who I believe who could be your closing back. But if given the opportunity to start, I mean, if he continues to evolve and develop, like this guy who came out of the University of Kentucky, I believe he could be a guy right here who could still be a dark horse as far as like for the Steelers running game in the future. I'm not saying like the long-term plan, but this is a guy right there who's hungry, who definitely plays with an attitude. And you've seen this year, I mean, just what he's capable of doing. I thought he was huge in games, like I said, against the Bengals, the Browns, right there during the season when the Steelers were trying to turn things around. I mean, it was in fairness, too, that Brian Daryl did point out the fact, too, when the Steelers did lose that matchup in Cleveland on Thursday night, he saw some shaky signs. And that was one of the same games, too, that James Conner had to leave. It was eventually he had like a shoulder injury. I think he re-aggravated. So this is a lot of stuff we got to put on the table here with this team. And we're going to get into some stuff a little bit later on. But like one of the things, too, I found was very interesting, too, as we looked at it. And according to Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette right here, I mean, when you really look at things here, and Jerry Dulac, by the way, he can be followed on Twitter at Jerry Dulac. He writes for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. And he was noticing the fact too that the Steelers have not selected anyone in offense since 2012. And since 2012, that guy who they drafted was one of your offensive linemen in there, and David DeCastro, who's currently right now your starting right guard for the Steelers. And when you look at the offensive line, what they were able to do, I mean, this is a guy right here who's been to 4 Pro Bowls, 2 All Pros, and yeah, I mean, this is a guy right here. I mean, aside from that, but I mean, the last other decent guy who they selected, as far as like an offensive skill player, you have to go back to Rashard Mendenhall in 2008, which, by the way, was the last running back they drafted where he actually shared some Super Bowl success, playing 2 Super Bowls, Super Bowl champion in 2008, running behind Willie Parker, who actually phased out about less than 2 years later. And you saw the attitude he brought to that team. So those are things right there we got to look at. And yeah, definitely, Mark. I mean, it's definitely been left off. I mean, a great, huge deal since Le'Veon Bell. You never say that more enough. But like I said, I think, like I said, with Snell, you gotta give it a little bit more patience in time and see how things open up. It's definitely gonna have to see how they do in reps or what kind of game plan they do. I think you gotta look at the health of Connor right now. You got to figure a guy like James Conner. I don't think he's going to be a guy they're going to necessarily release. I mean, he's in the final year of his rookie contract, a 4-year deal right now. And I'd be really interested to see what's to be the game plan for him or these other running backs too. You also had there. You also had Jalen Samuels on here as well. I mean, James Conner, who comes into the, like I said, he's on the 4th year of his rookie contract. I'm not so sure if the Steelers are going to be able to pick up his 5th-year option. But we'll see. No, excuse me. He wasn't disregard that. He got drafted. I just forget which round he got drafted, but wasn't a first-round pick. That was T.J. Watt. So please excuse me. So it was round 3, 105th overall. So he's going to be in the last year of his contract. I expect they're going to just stay behind him. They're going to give him another chance, see how things roll out. If you see a flash of what we saw like about a season ago prior to this season with James Conner, how he started off and the scrimmage yards he had, I think that the Steelers may decide to just have their poker face on, be a little bit more patient with him before they make any moves that may sound a little drastic. That's what you got to look at, bottom line, at the end of the day here. You got to look at all your availability right now and think how this is going to work and how this is going to be spread into. Again, the number to be reached is 312-209-2232. You can follow me on Twitter at PrideRichie, at MassSteel, CJR. Instagram, Men of Steel Nation. Of course, my YouTube channel, Men of Steel Podcast. We get ready to heat things up here in just a second. And there was also another sign, too. Speaking of future and reserved contract, we're going to get into as we look at it. Another guy who I find to be like an interesting name right now, you also have Anthony Johnson. Anthony Johnson right here, who came from the University of Buffalo, who for his career highlights, he had 133 receptions for 2,367 yards, 25 touchdowns in 2 seasons. And he spent 2 years in JUCO, Butler Community College, and Iowa Western Community College, according to Teresa Varley. So you got another option to fit in right here. He's 6'2", 205 pounds right now, as he was originally signed by Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a undrafted rookie free agent. And he spent all of last preseason and camp with the Bucs prior to getting released before the start of the regular season. And then he later went on to the LA Chargers practice squad back in September 2019. So definitely, he's a guy who got poached right there, and see how that continues to work out. See if be more stuff, more competition, real quick here. But when you look at, like I said, the Steelers' offense right now, and you look at like some of the guys right here, it's definitely gonna be some interesting decisions right there. Especially, we don't know if Kevin Colbert is going to remain with the team, if he's going to agree to mutually part ways with this franchise. I mean, like I said, that's always be a key factor right now, where it's like him or like Omar Khan that decides to stay on with the team, and we'll find out. I mean, as far as like how we do this, but I'm a little concerned, to be honest with you. And obviously, either way as it goes, it's going to be Kevin Colbert's imprint on this team as we take a look at it. But yeah, I'm just not so sure like how they're going to figure this out and what they do. I mean, or you got Brandon Hunt, your pro scouting coordinator. So either way, I mean, I've been assured by people I spoke to in person, know some buddies of mine. Make sure to hit them up on social media. Talk about none other than Terrell Barnes and Rob Mulry, both diehard loyal Steelers fans right there. They always got some interesting thoughts right there. Hang with them. Make sure to go during the regular season. Whenever you want to watch the Steelers game, make sure to hit up Durkin's Tavern. And that's at Diversity and Hall on the north side, and Wrigleyville and Lincoln Park in Chicago, Illinois on the north side. So if you ever want to have a good time in visiting Chicago and want to have a good experience for a Steeler game, good Steeler bar, highly recommend Durkin's Tavern. So let's get into it right now. Some other notable signings right now. As you know, Brian DiArlo was highly stressing right now, because remember, you already got Bud Dupree as one of your options right now for this year. A guy who's going to be, I think, a restricted free agent, if I'm not mistaken, for this year. I don't think he's an unrestricted, but this is a guy right here who last season the Steelers did pick up his fifth-year option. And I'd be wondering to see what they do with him, and as far as how they're going to do. More than likely, you got to imagine they're going to slap the tag on him. How much is his agent, going to want to like look at the market and like think he deserves more? I mean, it's a big thing right now. I just really get a little concerned with him as far as like if he's going to demand a lot more. And then you got a guy like TJ Watt who had a career year with 14 and a half sacks and just really just produced out of his mind. But TJ Watt, you got to imagine his agent is going to want to be opening up the wallet big time on this Steeler team, trying to pry some teeth here. Like I said, I just get a little concerned right now with where you're going to look at it as far as how it goes and what you look at it right now. But Dupree, I think, is definitely going to be an interesting one. I mean, how much is he going to dictate, him and his agent? Because you got to figure right now with a guy like TJ Watt right now, throughout the course of his career, when you look at it, he's not a restricted free agent. He's an unrestricted free agent. How much he's going to command in the market? And you look at his overall career and what he's did. This is a guy who initially had a 4-year, $9.2 million contract. But then he also had a big payday a year ago where they picked up his fifth-year option, made about $9.2 million. So pretty much more than double what he's did. Now you got like T.J. Watt, who according to Dale Lally, who he followed at Dale Lally _ PGH, and with T.J. Watt, I mean, the guy who has produced 34 and a half sacks, more than Khalil Mack since 2017. So since he's been drafted, I mean, he's had more sacks than Khalil Mack in a 3-year span, who's currently with the Bears, former Raider. And for him being the 30th pick in the 2017 draft, I mean, he will earn the average 2019 salary of the 25 top edge rushers in the football league in 2021, assuming the Steelers pick up his option. And that works out to about a $9.419 million if the Steelers are to pick up his fifth-year option. So pretty much in the same neighborhood as Bud Dupree if that were to happen. That's what you got to look out for if you ask me. And I think that's going to be a real interesting thing right there for what his agent, what they want to do, how much they're going to demand. And you never know, too, because this is a guy who could possibly be Defensive Player of the Year, I mean, at the awards ceremony. It's going to be pretty much a long shot if that goes his way. I mean, I would be real, shocked and out of my seat if that were to happen. I mean, I wouldn't be too surprised. I mean, considering what he's did, who's been tied first for forced fumbles in the league, and right up there, like top 5 in sacks. I mean, this guy has definitely given it his all. I mean, for this team. I mean, he's done a lot and what he's asked for. And like I said, like I told Brian too, you gotta definitely believe his brother J.J. Watt is definitely got to be in his ear too and give him some huge pointers. I mean, that is one of his little brother right there too, his siblings. You got to imagine he's going to be looking out for him as family. Like I said, with T.J. Watt right now, it's only going to be interesting right now. I mean, what kind of market can we be staying up to? Because remember, if he does get his option picked up, he'll be making around roughly $18.6 million in his overall tenure with the Steelers. So, I mean, that is going to be a big thing right here. I mean, T.J. Watt, what he does and how that's going to, how much is that going to skyrocket and see what happens. I mean, I really believe, I mean, this guy right here, he's got like the heart of a lion with his team. He's got the adrenaline. Reminds me of so much of a guy like Kevin Green and Clay Matthews when you look at it. And like I said, I mean, this is the guy right here. I mean, this is probably one of your cornerstone pieces if they are able to pick that up. I mean, granted, they're going to have some offense things they're going to look into, but we'll find out. I just feel for like the time being, we got to look at. I mean, Khalil Mack, who's right now with his $141 million deal, who's averaging around $23.5 million. Do you guys believe that T.J. Watt will probably even sniff 23.5, maybe around $21 million a year? Is he going to be in that? Is he going to be in that similar ballpark with Khalil Mack in that market? That's the thing we got to look at right here, and I think it's going to have to be a pick and choose type of situation where you're going to have to convince a guy like Bud Dupree to tag him, and then go ahead and go for your money with T.J. Watt. I think definitely after hearing Brian speak a couple of nights ago, thanks again for calling in, Bud. It was nice having you back on again. But, yeah, it's decisions right now as we get ready to wrap this thing up. here on the Mess Deal Podcast. Again, the number to call in is 312-209-2232. Again, that's 312-209-2232. And speaking of which, right now, too, let's go into Diontae Johnson right now. Diontae Johnson, despite leading his team in receptions and his receiving yards, which were tops on the team, he had 648, but he was sixth amongst his fellow rookie draft class this year, trailing behind the likes of A.J. Brown, who had 1,051 yards, the only rookie this season to top 1,000 yards receiving. The next name comes is Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, 919 and 900 yards, Deebo Samuel with 802, and last but not least, Darius Slayton with 704 yards. Where Johnson does gain a lot of footing back is on his return skills. Deontay Harris, who actually beat him out for first-team All-Pro honors this year in his rookie season, both being rookies, as a return man, averaged 26.8 yards per kick return to rank third in the league. He also averaged 9.4 yards per punt return. So, I mean, just give you a glimpse right now as we look at, let's just start hitting up fair or foul. Fair or foul, Diontae Johnson is going to be your next gem at wide receiver for the Steelers. Kind of like how Antonio Brown rose his way up through the ranks. Juju Smith-Schuster still wait and see. But with a guy, like I said, Diontae Johnson, if you notice one thing about the Steelers and their history, you usually like to see how guys start off on special teams and how they work their way up from there. Of course, Danny Smith has got to be liking that. But, I mean, right here, I mean, he reminds you some qualities of Antonio Brown with the return yards. And I think this guy definitely has a great potential to be dynamic. This guy's got playmaking capabilities. And I'm going to have to say fair for right now, based on what I'm seeing. But he definitely needs to work out a little bit more in the offseason. But he is special than more than we'll ever know on this team. I think definitely he is one of the futures on here. Definitely going to probably be your wideout, where you could probably have like a guy like Deontay play like Juju play like a slot, or James Washington. I mean, it's still a wait and see. I think James Washington definitely made a tremendous second-year improvement. Definitely got himself in better shape and better production for this team. I mean, when you look at it too, I mean, like I said, James Washington led the team with reception yards, 735, which is pretty awesome. So obviously, there's a few more steps higher in the rankings in the season as far as receivers go. Fair or foul topic number 2. Steelers offensive coordinator Randy Fichtner will remain beyond the 2020 season. Definitely a foul on that one. Considering like how well the offense did, we still don't know how Ben Roethlisberger is going to react once we find out progress on his elbow surgery, and how he's going to be doing working out. Is he going to be a guy, once he's throwing the football, is he going to get hurt again, or is he going to have setbacks? That's a lot of stuff we don't know. I do know this: when the Steelers had Randy Fichtner with Ben Roethlisberger under center, Steelers were tops in red zone scoring. Just when you got a lot more unknown, I mean, continuing on right now with how Ben Roethlisberger is going to work with guys like Diontae Johnson and others on this team. I mean, how are we going to find out? Or a guy like Nick Vannett. I mean, we just don't know. Or Deion Kane. I mean, how is he going to work with these young receivers? Saw him struggling earlier in the year. Eventually had to get surgery on his elbow. Definitely felt like he was being worked a little bit. I just think when a guy like Ben Roethlisberger, I think the biggest mistake for his career, as much as I enjoyed watching it, but even though they didn't make the playoffs, that 5,000-yard passing he had, I think may have like really put a big dent in his career. Because when you get up that high performance, something he has not reached. I'm not saying it wasn't going to happen with him at some point, but it was definitely a lot more work in passing. He was passing a lot more times up in age. A guy who's going to be 38 years old this coming off season in March. So give me a foul on that one. Also, too, fair or foul. Steelers are going to have to find another backup strong safety behind Sean Davis. I'll go fair on that one. I mean, having a guy like Steven Nelson signed to a nice contract didn't do that bad, but you still need a little bit more quality depth at that position. You don't want to bake on Minkah Fitzpatrick being that lockdown guy. He's definitely going to be good, but just in case, if you need a plan B, get one. And last but not least, Steelers will draft an offensive player with their first pick. Fair. Because remember, like I said, as Jerry Julick did point out, they did get David DeCastro back in 2012, who's their starting right guard down the road where he is right now. And, of course, their last skill player was Rashard Mendenhall. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Man of Steel podcast. As I always said, you always catch me Mondays and Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can follow me on social media at Prodigy Richie. Instagram stream, Man of Steel Nation. Of course, my YouTube channel, Man of Steel Podcast. As I always leave you, don't be trolling, be rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I gone.